Yeah, so the question of how workplaces can open up this conversation
Mm.
about substance use, so without the stigma,
Mm.
um, definitely need to reduce that stigma before the conversation even starts. And a way that you can do that is just by using appropriate terminology. Talk about performance well-being, talk about performance anxiety management, sustainable performance practices. Our data is telling us that people feel pressure, right?
Mm.
Internal and peer and institutional. People develop their own coping strategies. And in Australia, there is a lot of silence around
Mm.
it. And then at that higher level, those norms aren't openly discussed. So the issue is less people don't know or talk about substances and more that people don't feel safe talking about how they cope.
Mm.
So we need to normalize the problem rather than the behavior.
Yeah.
And I think, performance anxiety is common and expected. You're performing in an orchestra. It's the baseline. Like it's always going to be there. You can't pretend it's not there. So, you can do the workshops and the talks and the messaging and depathologize the anxiety specifically, make it discussable, give people permission to speak. Um, People won't talk if they think that disclosing is going to have career consequences.
Mm. Yeah.
All right, so organizations need to provide confidential support channels. Um, Participants are also telling us that they would like confidential counselling. I mean, most workplaces today in Australia at least have is it the EAP? Is that what it stands
Yes.
for? So
Yeah.
you've got
Employee
access
assistance
to,
program. Yes.
but yeah, which is great. So, and often with that, you can pick a psychologist or whatever that you can go to. It's not specific to orchestras, but it's still really, really useful. Um, and you can use external practitioners where possible. Something else that we've had from a couple of people um, is telling us that the introduction of a kind of whistleblower hotline for the orchestras where there are nefarious things going on, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, okay.
And that has worked in other orchestras. People are going to talk when they feel safe,
Mm.
right? Not when they fear consequences. So remove that aspect of there being consequences for, people talking about it. So don't focus on policing or judging substance use,
I think
because
probably
people are
got
just
that.
going to keep
Maybe has
writing.
that stemmed from, we hear of the stories of someone rocks up to a rehearsal, probably in like, I'm thinking of like Chicago with Fritz Reiner in the 40s and 50s, and he didn't like the person playing that solo. So like, you're fired, get out, and then they get someone else in, and you're like, maybe that's lingering as well. Those
Yes.
stories are lingering on, and you think, oh, if I have one bad concert, then my career is over. I think that perhaps is that a
Yeah,
lingering effect?
absolutely. Those sort of stories. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so confidentiality, non-judgment, support, the people are more likely to open up honestly, and seek help or adopt, healthier strategies for themselves.
Yeah.
Um, so workplaces can absolutely work with musicians on ways and means to develop that so that you've got a safer workplace.
Yeah.